Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Today on the show, I interview Sharri Harmel, who is the founder of Extraordinary Women magazine. She also runs a popular podcast, and we talk about how Paris changed her life for the better and inspired her to try new things and respect herself as more of a woman and in the business sense. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey guys, I am here with Sharri Harmel, and I am so excited to have her on the show because she runs a magazine called Extraordinary Women. She has a podcast all about extraordinary women, but she herself is also quite the extraordinary woman. And I want to talk a little bit about how she's inspiring women around the world, helping them, and living her Paris dream. So thanks for being here, Sharri.
Oh, like I said, it's an honor. It's truly an honor to be here. I love it.
You've been super busy building your little empire. I love it. Like your website is gorgeous. You got the magazine, you got the podcast, and you live part-time in Paris. Can you tell me a little bit about your Paris story?
Certainly. I do live part-time in Paris when it's not COVID. I'm 3 months here and 3 months in the United States. I live in Boston now. Prior to that, I was in Minneapolis. How far back do you want me to go?
Yeah, well, I mean, how long have you been coming here? When did you decide to move here part-time? It's such a dream for so many people.
It is. I think it all occurred after my divorce, honestly. I was married for 23 years, and after the divorce, I think it was huge reinvention desire, not just myself, but also what was around me and how I felt in my surroundings. And I thought, I'm going to take a trip to Paris and see what that's about. It wasn't a place that my former husband had enjoyed. Maybe that was part of the allure. I don't know. And so I started coming to Paris, and I felt different from the moment I was here. I couldn't totally, I think, verbalize what was different. I just knew I felt different when I was here. And so I started coming. I worked in higher education at that time. And so I had limited vacations, but whenever I could, I came over, and it started, 1 week, then it was 2 weeks. And when I resigned from my higher education position and went into coaching full time, I would come over for a month, see what that was like. And then that evolved into, 2 months until finally I said, this is the lifestyle I want.
And what is it about that lifestyle? What's different here?
Well, that's a question no one can totally answer.
Yeah.
I was talking to Molly Wilkinson about pastries and pastries in France versus desserts in America. And we were talking about the notes, and that in America, it's one note, it's sugar, it's chocolate, whatever it is, where in a pastry in France, it's these layers of notes. And I think that's a metaphor for what the experience is like here, because it's not just one thing. It's very strange, but you feel different because people look at you different. As an older woman, you don't feel invisible here, or at least I don't.
Yeah.
And people dress different. People move their bodies different. The architecture is different. People talk about different things here. It's just the food is different, obviously. Everything there, what is culture, I guess, is the question. And it's just layers and layers of a contrast to what my life how I feel when I'm in America. Now, I'm an American. I keep going back and forth. My children, my grandchildren are all in America. And yet, when I come to Paris, somehow it like refuels me, Crystal. It like I'm ready to go again. And I know when I'm in the United States for 3 months, I know it's time to come back.
I like that because it's usually like people either love or hate Paris. There's not really an in between. Like it could be like your ex-husband where like, I don't want anything to do with Paris.
Yeah.
And then for you, you're like, I want to spend time here. And I completely agree with you about the recharging. Like it's the same for me. Like sometimes I really need to get out of the city to recharge, like be in nature, but then you miss it at the same time. It always pulls you back. It sounds like it's the same for you.
Yeah. And even, I've lived in big cities. I lived in Boston for a long time before I went back to Minneapolis for COVID, basically. But Paris is a different big city because there are gardens everywhere. It's really amazing. I live in the seventh arrondissement, and I don't know, it must have been a month ago, I found what is, I think, a convent potager. And it's open during the day, and it is just filled with people eating lunch, people sitting, chatting, mothers with children. You don't see that in big cities in the US. Yes, Central Park, and yes, there's Boston Commons and the Public Garden and all. Those are big, big parks in the middle, but there's not these little hidden enclaves, that are show up. And so even though I bring that up only because we think of Paris as a big city, and yet it's not very tall, and and there's green everywhere.
Yeah, it's special. It still has that kind of village feel, but it's a capital. Like
yeah,
it's big, but it's small. I mean, it's easy to walk, and I think that makes everything more accessible. And people are in a fast pace, but at the same time, they're not. It's such like different intervals, different levels of contradicting things. It's really interesting.
It is. And I think I don't know what it's like for men. An American man coming here, I don't have enough data to make a general statement, but for an American woman, just, as we age, Crystal, you're still young, but as we age, there is a change in how you're perceived, how you're looked at, how attractive you are considered, and all of that as you age. And yet, when I come here, I don't even notice that. And obviously, I'm the same age regardless of where I am. But the perception and how you interact with, people is different. It's really, really quite interesting to me.
Yeah, I think that in America, like we respect the youth so much more and all the beauty and, the whatever. But like in France, I completely agree. Like older women are just as beautiful, just as respected. Like you don't have to become some kind of slob after your 50s or something, like you can still be fashionable.
Exactly. The tracksuit or the yoga pants and the tennis shoes are not there.
Yeah, it's true. It's really interesting. It's something I really notice every time I go home. Although I do love a good pair of yoga pants, after being a little more comfortable. But I get it. Like you're supposed to. And someone once told me people dress up here to respect others. And I had never thought about it that way. Like you are a piece of the environment, you are just like the beautiful buildings, the beautiful parks. Like you are to be beautiful for other people to enjoy as well, which I really respect that.
Yeah, that's and being respectful of your own surroundings.
Yeah.
Which that's a very interesting. See, again, that's one of the layers. It's like a way of thinking that is very different. From the French culture, and maybe it's the European culture, but certainly the French culture versus the American culture. Yeah.
Now I want to switch gears here because we talked about this a little bit before the show started recording, but I was like, do you consider yourself a creative?
Oh, Lord. Yeah. No. When you me on this podcast, my response was, no, I'm not a creative. Um,
Yeah.
and like you said, so many of us equate that word to actually making something, something artistic or craftsy or something of that sort. And I'm none of those things. I can't do one creative thing with my hands. All my creativity is in my head. And I consider myself, though, a very creative thinker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a strategic creative, I guess you'd say, or creative strategic, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people associate creativity with being an artist.
Mhm,
And yes, they're interchangeable, but at the same time, in my mind, everyone is a creative because at creativity's core, I feel like it is problem solving.
mhm,
And we do a lot of that in our daily lives. And also, like a lot of times when people pick up hobbies or start new projects, or even your new business now, running this podcast, running the magazine, that's
mhm.
creative. That couldn't be more creative. And I feel like you were inspired to do these things after coming to Paris. Is that correct?
Yes and no, honestly. I think Paris gave me the confidence to leave higher education, where I was a career coach, and think about starting my own business. So I
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, did it fuel the podcast specifically or the magazine specifically? Potentially, yes, but I think it's all under the umbrella of having the courage and having the vision or the creative thinking to say, what could I create? And
Mm-hmm.
versus, I need to stay in this job until I'm X age, and then I don't know, get a drink and go to Florida. Being out on the beach. So I think it's hard to separate, where did Paris fuel it, or did Paris give me the confidence, if that makes
Mm,
any
I
sense.
like that. Paris gave you the confidence. So,
Mhm.
how so? Because you see people doing fun things here. You see older women being respected, or just knowing like you can make this sellable. Like, how so did Paris give you confidence?
I think Paris gave me confidence in myself and
Hmm.
my own potentiality, if that's a word.
Yeah.
So that I started to look at myself differently, and looked at myself from the standpoint of possibilities versus limitations.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Coming here and seeing the way other women were treated, what other people were doing, it was kind of like, hey, I can do these things too.
Yeah, well, and it's like that's really, it's a kind of an interesting idea, and it's a little off track, but it's really about kind of the energy of the air, if you want to call it that, and how it fuels you. When I say I have to come back here to fuel myself, it's
Hmm.
really this positive mindset of what could be versus what shouldn't be, or I
Hmm.
can't, or whatever it might be. So, yes,
Yeah.
but the magazine, I actually created the magazine during COVID, and I created the podcast during COVID. In both, in that time period, I was in Minneapolis. So I actually wasn't here.
Hmm.
Paris is in many ways a part of the magazine and a part of the podcast, because I live life in both places. And so in both the magazine as well as the podcast, I connect with women both in the United States as well as women in Paris or France or the UK. And several women, many of the women are Americans who are doing some sort of business that is the intersection of both countries or both cultures. So
Yeah, you see a lot of that here. A lot of women come and they're inspired and they create a business or they import, export, and like it's just a very easy sell. Anything with Paris or France involved, people want it.
yes, I know.
And so, how do you keep yourself recharged creatively other than coming to Paris? Are there certain things, certain resources that help you when you're feeling like uninspired?
um, that's a really good question. I think no matter where we are, and I'm speaking of myself, I can work too much in Paris too, because
Hmm.
I am an American. And so I have to remind myself on almost a daily basis, Sherry, you need to go out for the walk. Sharri, you need to go to the cafe, and just be, which is something when I was in America, you don't think about. It's not part of your culture. So I think spending that time, it sounds bizarre, but really setting aside time to be creative and to just let ideas flow into your consciousness. And some of them might need to go right back out. But being open to what might come for you, and you need the right environment to make that happen. Now you can do it in the United States. You can do it no matter where you are, but being conscious enough to say, I have to spend the time to do that. That's extremely important to me. Also, I have to say the women I interview, inspire me, because I hear so many different stories and so many different ways that people started their businesses, the challenges they dealt with, but what it was, how they started their businesses from doing something they loved. Those are all really good reminders. I don't know who the crazy person is. He's not crazy. He's actually great. But he said you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most or whatever.
Yeah.
So if I hang around kind of, and I think that's the beauty, and you'd probably say this too of the podcast, when you spend time with people who are really stepping into who they are and creating really amazing things, it broadens your own perspective, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. The energy, there's an exchange, there's a synergy. I mean, the same thing with the city, like you were saying, there's a certain energy here. I say that all the time. And a question that I ask a lot of my guests are, why are creatives attracted to Paris? And I mean, what do you think? Why do you think they all come here?
Because I think the culture, number one, the culture gives us the space to be okay with taking the time, in your agenda to say, I'm going to sit in a cafe, or whether it's alone or with a friend, and chat, and see what happens to me. I'm going to just experience life. So that's part of the culture. And then you're in the middle of an environment that's actually beautiful. Just so beautiful, as well as history. Because there's so much history here, wherever you turn, it makes you think about, what am I doing? What am I creating in my own life? So I think it's many multiple prongs of pushing to be creative, and I think that's why Paris draws creatives. It just does, over and over throughout history.
Yeah. I love what you said too about Paris, teaches us what is culture. Because even in our history, Jefferson and Franklin, they came here to learn culture, to learn how to be cultured people. It's still happening today.
Yeah. It's quite, you're right. Absolutely. And there's reminders of that. I live very close to the pedestrian bridge that goes from basically the left bank to the right bank, from the Musée d'Orsay over to the Tuileries. And right at the end of the bridge is a statue of Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
It's that reminder. Yes. Great thinkers, great minds came here to expand their thinking, expand their creativity. So,
and what surprised you the most when you moved here? Was there something that kind of shocked you when you finally started spending more time here?
Anything that shocked me? That's really an interesting question. I think there's reminders all the time. Number one, I know the French sometimes have a negative reputation, but yet it's a very relational culture. Being considerate and connecting. If you walk into a shop and you don't say bonjour, they're probably going to think you're terribly rude. In America, you could go in, wander around, and leave, and no one would ever say anything. Hello, or that's unusual. That would be not accepted here. So I think I was shocked by how relational. If again, I think I'm making up words, Crystal, but the culture is, that it's both on a surface level, whether you're in the grocery store or the hardware store, as well as the depth of the relationships with the few people that are close to them, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and not a lot in between. And so I think that was really interesting, and always something I have to think about
Mm-hmm.
when I'm here, but also how different, and you kind of said that, how different they are in their environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I told this crazy story on a podcast where there were two young men walking down the street and they were talking to each other. And one of them was obviously American because his arms were kind of flailing. He was taking up a lot of space in his environment. And next to him was a French guy that was his same age, and they were both dressed beautifully. And that young man was kind of close, tight. So how we experience our environment here when I'm here is very different from how it is in the United States. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's almost like reverse culture shock when I go back now because I've been here for 10 years and I go back like every 6 months. And I'm always like, whoa, it's almost like overwhelming going back home at this point, going back to America. Because the thing that mainly gets me is how the servers are very into you in America. Because, here you could sit here all day and everyone would just ignore you and you have to beg for the check. But they're like turning tables, and I get it because it's the
yeah,
way the money thing works. But I'm just like, I'm going to give you 20%. Just leave me alone. Stop talking
right.
to me.
Yeah, yeah. But I think also there's a relational aspect to it, where I think the waiters here respect your time with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
respect your time if you're sitting, in your case with your husband or a friend. It's respecting that space. Where in America, it's one of the things that, everything has a plus and a minus. It's one of the things that makes us such, incredibly ambitious people is we
Mm-hmm.
charge in. We
Mm-hmm.
really think about, oh gosh, that's a couple sitting together. I'm not going to bother them. Not that the French waiter is thinking that, but he conscious or unconsciously, it's part of his culture. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's really it's interesting, and it relates to what you said. How you dress is a respect for the environment that you're in and other people. So it's yeah, it must be interesting for you. You've been here for 10 years to go back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I feel like coming here during my formative years was important. I mean, I came here in my mid 20s and it's
Hmm.
really kind of formed who I am in a lot of ways. But I don't think you have to come here. Like that can happen at any age, as you just explained. Like it can change you at any time in your life, and for the better, like to try new things and respect yourself even more, respect others more. Not that we're not a respectful country in America, but it's just about that space and earning that respect too. Like it always surprises me too when I go home and everyone just smiles at you for no reason. I'm like, what are you smiling at me for? Like, what is this? Like, I've just gotten so used to, and I used to be that person. I used to smile at everybody for no reason. And when you do that in Paris, they think you're simple or that you want to like do something else with them, So it's just funny to, slowly change into this person, because I came here as a super smiley American. And
Yeah.
I think in American culture, a lot of times we're trying to make other people feel comfortable all the time.
Right, right.
And
Well,
yeah,
you hit on something that it might explain why people are very nice to me here.
yeah,
Because
you're smiling at them a lot. They think you wanted a date.
I smile a lot because the language is difficult for me, and so sometimes I think I smile to try to excuse myself.
Yeah, exactly. We do that in the American culture too. Like we get
Mhm,
smiley when we're nervous or kind of
mhm.
like, sorry for existing.
Right, right, exactly.
And do you have advice for other creative people who are maybe struggling to find their passions? I mean, I know you just called yourself an uncreative, but I think we've conquered that is not true. Do you have advice for people who are kind of feeling uninspired or, they're looking for their inspirations?
Well, I think, and this is so much a part of my business in the Extraordinary Women Circle, which the magazine is a part of, as well as the podcast, is really connecting with what it is that you love to do.
Mm-hmm.
no matter what it is. What is it? And then really nailing down what is it that you can do every day, all day, and kind of lose track of time, because somewhere in there is what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when because I work with women who are really creating businesses after a corporate career, after raising children. So it's some kind of it's a pivot out of what their prior lives were. And it's all about connecting to what brings you joy, what makes you happy, what makes you feel energized. Because we can all create businesses that make money.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going to make money in the next 5 years and then really dive in. Oh, this is going to make money. But I say we have to find what juices us up, what makes us excited to get up in the morning and start doing. Because in that, you'll create your business, you'll write your book, you'll draw your painting, whatever it might be. That's where we want to live, and that's where we can live, I think, really fully, regardless of our age.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
35 or 95. Um,
Yeah.
you know, does that make any sense to you? How does
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's about finding that joy and living in it. And another question I often ask guests is like, do you think that when you start making money doing your passions, it can kind of take some of the joy away from it? Like, what do you feel about that?
I don't think the money itself takes the joy away. I think the challenge, the admin side of businesses and of running a business is what can just eat away at joy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to find Truly, I think we have to find, and I guess it's connected to money, but we have to find figure out what is it that I'm really good at, what is it I enjoy doing and can do, and what can I offload or hire out. You're a perfect example because I can't take photographs.
Mm-hmm.
I truly can't. My iPhone's great and all of that, but they're not professional. Could I go to a photography school and learn more? Yes, but I don't have the bandwidth to do that, nor obviously do I have the true gift or inclination to be good at that. Therefore, I have to hire you to take my photographs.
And I enjoy it every time. It's
Yeah,
super fun.
that's your wheelhouse. It's not mine. And so I think it's really important, especially because in the beginning we have to wear all of the hats. But as we start to grow our businesses, whatever they are, or creative endeavors, we have to offload some of that. Otherwise, it will eat up all of our time. And
Yeah, you get burnt out.
you do.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to start outsourcing. And I think that's always a scary like threshold for most businesses to pass because it's like been their baby for so long. It's like you don't want to give your baby to someone else. But if you want to keep growing and creating, then definitely outsourcing is where it's
You,
at. And I think everyone talks about that.
Yeah, and also I think you don't outsource everything. You take pieces of it that and trying it. And I think the biggest issue, and a lot of people don't think about this, is onboarding somebody. So getting
Yeah.
comfortable with a person that you've hired, say to do your social media, or to write some of your copy for your website, or even your website designer. You really there's a amount of time of onboarding that person so that they get inside your head, they get inside of your business to understand what it's all about. So start small.
Yeah.
Don't take on something and don't give them the business. Give them a part of it to see if you work together really well and they
Yeah.
understand, and if not, move on.
Yeah, because not everyone's going to vibe with you in the same way, and it is your baby, so it's okay to like choose what works best.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And can you talk a little bit about your business? Like, what is Extraordinary Woman, the magazine, the podcast? Like, what?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more.
Well, the Extraordinary Women magazine, first of all, embrace that That's this is me talking to myself. Embrace that sometimes your first idea isn't your best idea.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm one of those people that, once I get an idea, I just run with it. And it's like, I'm going to learn as I go. I'm not one of these people, I should be maybe, but I'm not one of these people that spends a vast amount of time planning and planning and planning and planning. So when I started the magazine was called Be the Real You. And I don't know why I came up with that, but it just felt right at the time. And after 2 issues, I realized that that didn't make sense to anyone, and the magazine changed to Extraordinary Women. It started with the magazine, and the magazine really was about ordinary women to some extent who are doing what I call extraordinary things. And it doesn't have to be finding the cure for cancer or, creating a satellite that goes up to into space or whatever, which are all extraordinary things. But I think, people who hold on to their craft while they raise children, that's extraordinary. Women who come out of, long-term relationships and say, I'm going to reinvent myself, I'm going to do something, that's extraordinary. So the magazine was all about highlighting those women initially and thinking of ways to inspire other women. And it had and still does a very large Paris component because I spend half of my life here. And it has evolved. It's really quite interesting that now it's really a circle, if you want to call it that, Extraordinary Women Circle. And it's really specifically for women 40 plus who are trying to reinvent themselves or create that fabulous next chapter. And for them, for my population anyways, it's about creating a business of some kind. And the business can be anything from coaching to painting to even starting a charity, you name it. And so the women that I highlight in the magazine are really women who have done that with all kinds of, I've been a coach for, 30 years. And so there's all kinds of coaching tips that come out of those interviews that are now shared with readers, as well as exercises, activities to help women to move forward on their particular dream. So it's really, I think in many ways, kind of, I would call it like a dream designer kind of magazine, if you want to call it that, with a very strong business focus, because that's the world I come from. And those are the women I've coached for a very long time. So,
yeah, I think it's great because you give people actionable steps to do what they want. It's not just like make a vision board and meditate on it. It's like, here's the steps to like do a little bit more on the business side.
Well, and also there's a huge mindset component because anyone, and I think your creatives would speak to this regardless of their ages, but certainly my market is women who are creating a business after, a certain stage of their lives. And risk is viewed entirely different than it was when you were, say, 25 arriving in Paris. Your perspective of risk changes as you grow older, and also how to value the experiences that you've had up to that point so that you can use those experiences in whatever way in your business is really important. But mindset is all about, mindset stops everyone. It's amazing to me how mindset gets in the way of us creating.
So and we block ourselves. Yeah,
we do. So the podcast in particular, every other week, the podcast comes out every Monday, and every other week I interview a woman, business owner. And on the opposite weeks, I talk about mindset. And the one I just recorded, a week ago, was on imposter syndrome and how imposter syndrome is kind of like the common cold. It's hanging around all the time. And sometimes, sometimes you can do just fine and avoid it. So there's a really strong mindset component, because for anyone to create anything, you have to get past those mindset hurdles. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about mindset with everything in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great note to end on. Where can people connect with you online?
ExtraordinaryWomenMagazine.com is the website. Exact same Extraordinary Women Magazine on Instagram as well as in Facebook. And there is a Facebook private group that's specifically for women who want to be a part of this circle. And so all you have to do is check out the Facebook page, Extraordinary Women Magazine, and request to be a part of the private group.
Perfect. And we'll share all that in the show notes as well. So you guys can just click below to learn more. And thank you so much for coming on today, Sharri.
Thanks for having me, Crystal. Loved it. Loved it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.